moving kind of fast here because we're short on time, but I need to get this bottle open, vent out the high pressure air from the frickin' Tex been sitting in the Alabama sun for a few hours, and then it is going directly in the freezer because I'm going to go grab a cooler. I'm going to go grab a cooler and some ice, and we're going to pack this beast on ice and take it with us. We're going to go ahead and go get us some nitrous. Alright, well that sits on ice for a little bit. We're going to start looking through this kit. We have our control module, our proton, that's what they call it, some fuel line, some wiring, and each of our individual jets that I need to screw into the intake boots. Yeah. And these will get the power jets added to them. Let's see what we got over here. We got bottle mount, a switch, our main nitrous line, some more wiring, relay plug and relay, a bunch of fittings and wire connectors that I'm probably not going to use because I'm going to solder everything, fuel filter, some mounting hardware, and a fuel pump. And don't forget our wide open throttle switch, which we need to figure out a way to bracket up. We're going to see what we can figure out on that. That ought to be fun. Alright, now we've gone through this kit, and we're ignoring this because this makes no sense for me. Everything I've referred to, including my engine builder, says always go 4 sizes bigger on your fuel jet than your nitrous jet. This is telling me the opposite. So, I have no intentions of following this sheet. Yeah, they can fuck off on that. There's no other sheet in here telling me nitrous sizing of my jets, so I'm guesstimating here on what I'm putting in this for power, but I went simple. Smallest I got's freaking 16, so I went a 16 nitrous jet and a 20 on the fuel. 16, 20, 16, 20, 16, 20, 16, 20. That, if their table is correct, a 16 horse nitrous jet is probably going to be somewhere around a 30 shot. Give or take. I don't trust their shit, because this is calling for a plate. I think this is the wrong printout for my system, but we'll see what's going on. It does give basic bottle orientation rules and a simple wiring diagram. Those are all I really need. It's got testings, additional parts recommended. I do plan to get a nitrous pressure gauge, a purge bottle, and a fuel pressure safety switch, but I don't need any of these. So, yay. One thing people will recommend is throttle position sensor / RPM window switch. We're going with a wide open throttle switch at this point in time. That is going to change here shortly. The next big investment into Suzi-Q, before we get the new motor, I have to have this. He won't even build it unless I get it. I have to get a Firestorm ignition system, so it's time to upgrade. That'll also turn this into a progressive kit. There's one thing I really do not like about this, and that is you couldn't solid mount the solenoids. Whatever. I gotta take, hold on, this AN fitting off and switch it out for that barb, because we're gonna go with that line coming from that pump. Other than that, we're ready to rock and roll. Yee yee. In the meantime, guys, I do apologize. This is going to be a dark video. My battery's dying. We have built, ignore the nasty outdoor stored flux core welds. We have wormhole porosity that I had to burn out further down. I got way too hot up here trying to burn through. So it works. It made it rigid. Life is good. It'll hold the bottle. We're also going to run a safety cable around the neck of the bottle up to the chassis just in case. But this sets down, yeah, you can't see a dang thing. I will have to demonstrate this later in this clip now. Alright guys, we've been back here for about an hour. I'm sweating bullets. But we've mounted a few things up, if you can't tell. The bracket we built in the last video, we went ahead and drilled into the swing arm and then put thread certs in there. Steel thread certs, so it's got good tough threads holding it on both sides, M6. And then we already did. I'm a little tired. Get the bottle permanently mounted up for now. It'll have to come out and get filled again because we wasted it. The line is routed, it turns and goes up through the fender, alongside the battery, comes out beside the battery, still free to move where it needs to, and makes a bend into the proto solenoid. Yay, that was easy enough. The fuel pump landed where it wanted to land. It turns out it's a little more aggressively angled towards the engine than I wanted, but I can live with it. I can always put a 90 on here, whatever I really want to put on there. The line looped around, comes down. So all I need to do now is tee that in right there. And then we've got the fuel side done up to the solenoid. And the gas side is done up to the solenoid. The relay is mounted in place. It's going to sit right there. Doesn't look too bad actually. Once I get all these nice and tucked and routed the way they're supposed to, they're probably going to turn and run right along this harness over to here, because that's where that ended up. And once I cross this over along with the fuel line, that's where that's going to end up. So that works out fairly conveniently. So right now we got to find the horn circuit and interrupt it. And then the next step is going to be pulling carbs off. The carbs have got to come off in order for me to stick a vacuum in the intake of each one and drill for the nozzles. Then I can install the nozzles, put the carbs back on after I figure out a wide open throttle switch in the house where it's air conditioned, because that's going to take some time. Run my soft lines from here up to there. I think these two are going to go up. These two are going to go up. These two are going to go down. These two are going to go down. And they'll come up in between the carbs to where they got to go. Lucky, lucky, lucky. Impending doom, anyone? 4 nozzles. Fuel and nitrous. Alright guys, and here we are. I don't remember where we left off, but so far we pulled the carbs off. We've drilled and installed all of our Piranha foggers. They're aimed in the direction of the port. So you'll notice some of these aren't straight with each other. That one's cocked in, this one's cocked in a little bit. Sorry, I turned it by hand. And these should be reasonably straight. It's so that the nozzle is aiming with the flow of the port. Okay, those were easy, just drilled the holes, threaded them in, because I drilled the holes 1 mil smaller than the threads so that it would bite and have to expand. I also went ahead and installed, using their bracket behind this aluminum bracket, and then spacing all of these out with a washer the same thickness as the bracket, obviously, I was able to install a wide open throttle switch on that cam, which when turned to wide open throttle actuates. So now when I go to shift and I pop the throttle off for half a second, it should shut the nitrous off for half a second. Yee. Alright guys, and we're back. Today we came out here and we ran the lines to the Piranha nozzles. Not sure if I caught footage of this, so I'll explain what I did again. I came out here and I marked straight bottom on each of these, because it turns out these are going to be an interference issue with the valve cover up top. So bottom worked better. Drilled a hole that is 6.5 millimeters. The thread's inner measurement is 7.2 or something like that. It's the closest bit I had downsized. I had the exact same bit, but that wouldn't work, of course, because they wouldn't thread in. Threaded them in until they were tight. They're not going anywhere. And got them all aimed towards the wedge of each port. So what I'm kind of looking for is an even shot. And that is still looking remarkably clean in there. These lines are kind of a pain, and I really would have liked to have clustered them and run them more neatly. However, Nitrous Express's kit is really short on line. This is what I have left after running the lines. So I really couldn't have done much tidying up, maybe an inch or 2 a piece. So it is what it is. I'll see if I can order another big roll of line, probably a big red roll and a big blue roll, so I can tell what line's what, where it's running. But this will work for now. We're going to go ahead and roll this to the backyard again. Throw the hose clamps on here. The boot clamps, whatever you want to call them. They're just a hose clamp. Heat these all up with a heat gun again and slide the carbs back on. We went ahead and I powered up the ignition and the headlight and tested to see if that solenoid would still fire. It does. Now, I went ahead and pulled the wire that should match color code with what I have wired through, held it, cut it, that shut off instantly. Touch them together and that will still fire. So we're going to go ahead and lengthen these by a couple inches each with a spade connector. Wrap this back up and tuck it back up where it was, factory location, nice and neat. And run those down to the wide open throttle switch. So then, in order for it to be active, okay, you will turn the headlight on. That will arm the fuel pump and provide power into this relay. Now this relay always has constant battery power, and that goes out and around and down to the solenoid and then back around and down to ground. But the relay closes the circuit. So when this relay grounds, it closes the circuit, activates everything. The fuel pump will be wired up to that same switch. So it'll be fuel pump on, nitrous ready, and once I hit wide open throttle, it'll fire. And it'll fire all of it right away until I get a new ignition system that allows me to do a progressive shot or put a progressive box on. My intention is to do the first option. I've talked to my builder and we're going to go with a standalone system here. Alright guys, so that completes the nitrous installation for Suzi-Q. I just went down the road, let her rip in third gear, and as soon as I hit the wide open throttle mark, it went bleh. Well, that's because the nitrous tank's empty. All I was doing was purging the fuel side of the system and testing the system itself. I didn't want to spray it. So even if I'd had a full bottle, I'd have turned it off for that. Because worst case, which is exactly what happened, it shot a bit of fireball and it went really rich. Really rich. Like chokes on rich. But we cleaned everything up, got it ready to go. We do have slight fuel leak. It is from these threads on these fittings. So I'm going to have to take the carbs back off quick, put a wrench on here, and actually crank down on these. I thought pretty darn tight was tight enough. I guess I'm wrong. It needs to be really dang tight. So we're going to go ahead and tighten all these fittings up real tight with a wrench. Yeah, I thought it came out pretty good. Everything works exactly as it should. So I think we're good to go. We're going to go ahead and pull it on the trailer, pull the nitrous bottle, strap it out for the night, and probably go ahead and pull the carbs back enough to be able to turn each of the solenoids nozzles and tighten them up. Then we'll put the carbs back on. Tomorrow we're going to pop the clutch cover off, change the clutch, drain the oil, put fresh oil in it, put its last probably half gallon of VP 110, or in this case it's going to be Renegade 110 in it, and head to the track for test and tune. Make a couple good hits, pick up our C23, and then come home, get ready for the event on Saturday. We're going to run Street ET class, my old class. Because they did not do a Pro ET class, we're just going to run it in street. I have a plate for it, so I guess I'm going to duct tape the plate to my back. I have insurance on this bike. It is insured and licensed to operate on all U.S. motorways because it's registered in Alabama. And Alabama does not have a motorcycle exhaust law or fuel laws or any of that fun jazz. So, yeah, I just found out my bike is completely street legal as long as that line is unhooked and tucked up, because I can't have a nitrous tank hooked up. Thanking you for sticking through this series with me, guys. It's been a rough run here. We've been on and off working. I've worked 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 days straight. So I'm a little tired. Did get the weekend off, so we're going to go compete in, King of the Crown in Huntsville. It's the first event I ever competed in, which was on Suzi back when she wasn't Suzi. She was just the bandit, and she ran I ran 7.52 Street ET, and I broke out at a 7.48 on the brakes. We're gonna run 660 class.